uh, elevated panel, people who are working at a topmost level of the organization. And I really want to benefit from your presence and ask the same question to all of you. Define happiness in the construct of workplaces. So, shall I, Kartik, will you take the first shot?
It is afternoon. Good afternoon, friends. So, we saw in the previous panel, defining happiness is never an easy subject. I think, frankly, when you look at it from an individual's perspective, happiness can mean different things to different people. For me, happiness is playing golf. For somebody else, it could be anything else, right? But it's different for each person. I think when it comes to a corporate, for example, in our company, SRF Limited, we actually have a happiness index, and we measure this on a monthly basis. So there's a snap poll of sorts which is done on our intranet portal, and we ask each person to rate where they are on a happiness index. And here we don't get worried in terms of if 1 month turns out to be a red versus a yellow or anything else, but we look at the trends over a period of time. And then we act upon it if we feel there's a person who's constantly in red, or somebody who's moved from green, which is supposed to be happy, to unhappy. Just to tell you, as an organization, we are at about 40% happy, 50% I'm okay, and about 10% people saying I'm unhappy. Okay? So we do counseling, we do go talk to the people who are unhappy if we find there's a trend of unhappiness over a period of time. In terms of how we define the concept of happiness, we've taken various things into consideration that we ask people. So, I mean, or rather, let me put it this way, there are various things that we do as an organization to try and ensure happiness of the individual. So one is clarity of role. We found that if people are clear about what their objectives are, what their responsibilities, accountabilities are, they're a lot happier. Obviously, policies which are very standard across organizations in terms of people saying what are the employee-friendly policies, etc., make a difference. We do believe we have a caring culture in the organization, which means that, God forbid, if anybody is going through any sort of negative thing, any sort of trauma and all, we, like as an organization, not just as individuals, like to come and help that person out. We have something called a death and disability policy. We have various policies to help people out in tough times. Okay? Obviously, empowerment is another big thing. How much can you empower people? Now, even on this, we have a mixed bag within our own company. But our CEOs, we know for a fact, are trying to push people to say, stop CCing me on mails if I don't need to be CC'd on it. You guys take the call. This is your delegation of power. You take the call, don't push it up to me just so that you know, you say, he saw it as well, so he must have ratified it. So upward delegation, right? And that sort of save my backside sort of situation. But we try and push it down and say, it's your call, don't push it up. Okay? I mean, there are various things. Then the reputation of the organization. What we found when we've spoken to people, the CSR work that we do as a foundation, our foundation does, has a huge impact in terms of how happy people feel being a part of our organization. So they say if this organization has a good reputation by doing a lot of good work with the rural education, etc., we feel good about it. Shriram School is a sister body. That leads to a lot of goodwill for our organization because obviously with the sort of name, brand and the sort of kids that come out of there, people speak highly of our organization as well, and it makes our employees happy to be associated with it. So, and finally, basic infrastructure, well-being, etc., these are things that you have to have. These are the hygiene factors. And at the end of the day, we ask employees, are you happy to come to work or not? Or is it, oh Lord, it's a Monday sort of situation? So that's it.
Building upon all the things that all three of you have said, Kartik, what are the implications if we have this, and you have a very broad-based, and you have very nice happiness index. What are the steps that organizations like SRF or any other organization that both of you can talk about, what should they do to nurture happiness at workplace?
So, I think as Adam mentioned, this is becoming a tougher and tougher challenge given that you have different generations at work now. So it's not just about millennials and trying to make your manufacturing, for us, a manufacturing concern look like Google, all sexy if you can call it that, so that the millennials feel good about it. The fact is we have baby boomers, we have Gen X, Gen Y, we have this whole mix of people.
Right.
So one of the struggles that we are having and we are trying to deal with is trying to figure out what will make each person happy. So, but unfortunately, in a decent sized corporation, it's very difficult to have different policies for everyone. So you can't say for millennials, I will do this in terms of remuneration or something else, and for somebody who's older, I will provide security or something. And I understand, Adam, where the company was possibly coming for, that it's difficult for them to even think of the concept of geographically doing very different things in different places. But we know for a fact, like for example, we have Thailand and South Africa as well, where we have plants, and policies have to be tweaked a little bit in terms of what they value versus what they value in India. But that's still slightly easier when you look at it at a geographical level rather than then say, within my Gurgaon office, 20% of people would like this, the rest would like this. We are trying to see, and this is still work in progress, whether we can bring in some flexibility into our policies, but it's still very early for us. So I mean, I don't really have an answer right now in terms of how to make each person happy from a company policy perspective, but basic things in terms of, like I mentioned earlier, growth, providing good managers, good teams, having a good culture. These are more sort of, I hate to say, generic things that we can do to ensure that the general happiness quotient is decent in the organization. It's not getting to that individual level, but it's at a broader level that we are working on happiness. Getting to the individual level would really be the next challenge that we would have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. To all the people in the audience, if you have any questions, I'll have one more question, and after that, if you have any questions, I've noted one or two hands right now.
Can I just add something to what Nitin had said earlier, in terms of, and what you had said in terms of really a 24/7 workplace now, and people having to, possibly, as I think somebody mentions last 7 days, somebody's been working on a project or whatever, right? I think a lot, when you talk about happiness in an organization, I think you have to look at the DNA of the organization and the DNA of the person you're going to recruit. If that is very different, if there's a mismatch in that, then that person is not going to be happy in your organization. So for us, for example, work-life balance is important. So if there was this one guy who's going to probably stay there till 7:38 at night, he's going to find it a mismatch because everybody would have left by 6:30 or so, because work-life balance is pushed. So we do push people that, please make sure there's a balance. And then when we recruit people, we try and see who are the sort of people who are going to be happy to be here. So we may go to a tier 2 university or something, pick up the toppers from there, from small towns, because for them to come to a big town, work in a well-reputed company is a big thing, something that they feel inherently happy about. So these are some of the things that we look at. We try to create a genome in terms of what is the ideal candidate for our organization.
And you see, you try and see, not officially saying from the happiness lens, but there is a process through which you see the fitment.
The fit is better, the engagement, the fit, etc. is better.